Hello, hello.
Yes, yes. This is not my fault.
GST down.
Or is it possible? Do you have some laptop? Can you connect the laptop right now? Yes. If that is possible, do that. Or maybe I'll transfer data from my laptop. My laptop is old one that is having old VGA cable. How much time it will take?
Just 1 or 2 minutes.
Very good morning. So, new subject for you. For the first time, you might be going through this subject. How many of you are appearing for November 2021? Okay. Rest all are for May 21. Okay. Okay. May 21. May 21 students might have appeared earlier. Is it your second attempt or first attempt? Some of them first attempt, some of them second. Okay. So whoever is appearing for the second time might have studied some other notes earlier. Some new notes are provided to you. I think it is getting echoed. Okay, okay, don't worry. It will take 10 minutes to settle down. Are you getting my voice very clearly? No. Now? Last bench, are you getting my voice? You're not getting? Very low voice. Now, is it clear? Okay. Yes, is that very clear? Yes or no? See, you don't have to say yes forcefully because you need to bear me for the next 25 days. It is getting. Hey, do one thing, at least last three rows come here. Now is that clear? No, not somewhat. It should be very much clear. Only when it is very much clear, then you should say yes. No. This problem I am facing, I am the only one faculty facing the problem, or others were also facing. Well, this is the first time you are experiencing. Oh, great. Yesterday also you might be having some lecture, right? Participate. So at that point of time there was no problem. No. Now is it clear? Yes. No, you'll get habituated, that is correct. But this video is getting recorded, so the people who are sitting at home and looking at the video, they should also get the proper voice. Now is last bench. Are you getting the voice very clearly? It is echoing. Every lecture same time, morning 7 to 1:30. Earlier you might have attended lectures for other subject as well, right? So time you can't understand. Oh my God. I was asking you attending the lectures for the same time, 7 to 1:30. This is better. Okay. Is it okay if I don't use the mic? Call him. Is it okay if I don't? Voice is getting echoed in this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't turn off the speakers. Come on.
No,
I can't turn off the speakers.
yes.
But I can't hear
You switch on the mic for a moment. Very good morning. Once again, the same problem, right? Yes. Now it is okay. The mic is there, but it is for online students. Now you are okay now? Okay. Now it is clear.
and we wish it.
Yes. Yes, are you getting the voice clearly now? Okay. So, I was just worried about those students who are appearing for coming May. Those who have already appeared in the intermediate examination earlier and for them it is a second attempt, might be having some other notes also. So, you have to take a call, you have to decide which notes you need to refer now. I would definitely prefer that you refer this notes only, forget about the old notes, because this is the updated one. The earlier notes, wherever you might have studied, those might be as per budget 2019. This is as per budget 20. Plus, when we proceed with respect to the syllabus, you yourself would come to know that these notes are by quality. It is, I don't want to say something right now before starting, but once you refer to the notes, you will realize that these are simpler version of the earlier notes. You might have received some other notes from some other faculties. These notes are having a lot of flowcharts, etc. If you refer to the chapter of income from salaries, etc., then we will find out that it is full of flowcharts, easy to refer, easy to remember, easy to understand. So that over a period of time you will realize. My plan is to cover the entire syllabus in a span of 25 days. Every day we will be having a lecture for around 6 hours. So syllabus is around 145 to 150 hours. The last examination for which the result is declared, that is November 2020. Those who might have appeared in November 20 might have realized that CA Institute this time had asked a very tough question paper for the income tax subject as well as EIS subject. I do not know how many of you might have experienced that, but November 2020 examination, I feel that the paper was very difficult as compared to, I think it was the most difficult in the last 5 years. That is 10 examinations. How many of you appeared for November 20? Okay. First question you might be aware about that it was on alternate minimum tax. I do not know whether wherever you had learned this subject income tax, whether alternate minimum tax concept was covered or not covered. It was there in the module in the last chapter, computation of total income. Only one page theory was given. And this chapter is generally covered at CA final level. It is covered at CA final level. And the compulsory question was asked on this. Besides that, you might have seen in that question number 1, there was a small adjustment of section 80QQB. That section is also having 2 different answers. So all the teachers might not be having the same answer. There are 2 different answers. Now the answer is same because the CA Institute, whatever answer they have given, that is final. So question number 1, which was compulsory, had a lot of contradictory points, and basically alternate minimum tax concept was taken up from CA final. So this time the paper was, as per my experience, it was very, very difficult. The students who had started the answering the questions right from first question, the student who started from the first question might have faced a lot of difficulties. You might have lost your confidence in the examination hall. That was the quality of the question. Out of remaining 4 also, 2 were difficult. So at the difficulty level, if I want to mark this paper on 10 marks, then it was 9 on 10. That is what I strongly believe. I do not know why, but after very long span of time, around 4-5 years, CA Institute has asked an income tax paper which was above the level. So I do not know about the May 2021 examination, but we should prepare for everything. Last year, up to last year, I still remember May 2020 batch which I had taken in Mumbai. We had covered the concept of alternate minimum tax, and November 2020 batch, I had not covered the concept of alternate minimum tax. So I also had faced a lot of difficulties. But this time in this notes, we have covered the concept of alternate minimum tax along with 2 questions from CA final notes. So these notes are now comprehensive. You should not refer anything else. This is the final note for you. Besides, if you want for practice, you can refer to CA Institute module, and that too you can solve only the practical questions from the module. Once we move on to the chapters, you will realize that the quality of questions in these notes are slightly above the quality of questions in the ICI material. See, what is the trend of CA Institute is, they would give you simple questions in the module and they would ask difficult questions in the examination. That is what they are doing since last lot of years. So you will feel that the questions in the notes are slightly above the quality of questions which are there in the ICI module. But you will realize that ICI module question will be in a position to solve on your own very comfortably once you have solved all the questions from these notes. So besides May 2021 examination students, see, last time Tharun sir spoke to me, I realized that you might not be in a position to attend the lectures till 10th of May. Earlier, there was a plan to complete the entire syllabus by 5th of May. He asked me to do that, but we don't want to compromise on the quality with respect to those students who are appearing for November 20 because they are not in a hurry. So don't worry about that. We will cover up the syllabus for you up to 5th, and we'll try to ensure that 5 heads of income, deductions, computation of total income, all those important chapters will get completed. Small chapters like clubbing, set off, this kind of chapters will take up at the end after 5th of May. Besides, it was a surprise, but I'm opening the surprise on the first day itself for you. I'm going to, along with this, I'm going to give you a summary notes of only 110 pages. Entire syllabus of income tax, 60 marks is getting covered in those notes. It is a summary notes of 110 pages. So what you have to do is, on a daily basis, I'm not talking in general about the November 21 students. You are attending the lecture here up to 1:30. After that, I'm having some Mumbai lectures also. I'll be taking up online from here. So 2 days in a week, I'll be having lecture at 2:30. Besides that, other days I'll not be having lecture. I'll be having lecture at 4. So if you have any doubts, you can ask in the break also, at the end of the lecture also. But please don't hesitate to ask the doubts. The moment you hesitate to ask the doubts, you are not preparing for the examination. See, the real preparation is not teaching. Real preparation is self-preparation. So if you have the doubt, this is a very small batch. Believe me, this is the smallest batch I am teaching in the city of Chennai. I am being to Chennai since last 4-5 years. Not 4-5 years. First time I had taught in Chennai, it was 2013. 2013, Anna Nagar, I took one batch. It was around 75 students. And T Nagar also I took the batch. The last time when I was in Chennai was March 2019. And it was a batch size of around 800 students. 800 students. I was not in a position to see the face of the students sitting on the last benches. That was the situation. So I strongly feel that the fees which this classes has charged you at this fees, and in a very small batch, you are lucky enough to get into this batch, because in a very small batch, that too at a very low fees, you don't get a chance to be in such kind of batch. And the fees, I believe that fees are very much reasonable. And I've seen different cities. I think they have started this year, so they have kept the fees low. Plus the batch size is too small. Of course, some of the students might be attending online, but still, even if the class was full, then also batch size is too small. So you should not have difficulty in asking the question whenever the topic is being discussed. If you have any doubts, please interrupt me and ask your doubts. Besides that, if you feel that you are not comfortable asking the doubt during the lecture only, first preference is to ask the doubts at the time when the topic is going on, so that it is easier for me to explain, maybe by giving one more example. If at all you are not comfortable, you can ask me doubt during the break also, at the end of the session also, but don't carry the doubts at home. It is like a time bomb. It will blast one day, maybe today or maybe after 5 days, whenever you pick up that topic for the second time. So rule number 1, don't carry the doubts at home. November 21 students, I would say that you go on a normal speed, you don't study other subjects. Whenever a particular subject is going on, you should study that subject only. Whatever is being taught today, you should revise today. I do not know. I want to just ask a very simple question to November 21 students. Have you started studies very seriously? How many hours you study in a day? Besides the classroom hours? 3-4 hours you study? 3 hours, okay. So your first priority should be to revise whatever has been taught to you in the classroom. If you revise everything on the same day, then believe me, along with the faculty, you are also preparing. Otherwise, I have seen students not preparing for the examination along with the faculties. Faculties will complete the syllabus and then go. And then the students would start the preparation and then they would face a lot of difficulties. They'll be having a lot of doubts. So they may get in touch with the faculties maybe through WhatsApp or something else. And then see, it is difficult to get the doubts resolved once the syllabus is over. And if you don't start studies along with the faculty when the syllabus is going on, later on you are going to face more problems because a lot of things you might have forgotten. And the subject like income tax, it is too vast. It is too vast. So for November 21 students, I would just say that whatever is being taught to you inside the classroom today, ensure that you revise the same thing same day. If you revise the same thing same day, the advantage is you will be in a position to revise in a span of maximum 2.5-3 hours. But if you try to revise the same thing after 1 month, it is going to take 5 hours. Today it is going to take 3 hours. After 1 month it is going to take 5 hours. So the extra 2 hours is nothing but a waste of time. So you should ensure that you are revising on the same day. That is the most important thing. Plus May 21 students who are appearing for the second time, for them it is a second attempt. Or as well as for those May 21 students who are appearing for the first time, I am going to give you a summary notes of 100 pages. Very soon it will be given to you, maybe in a 3-4 days time. I want to make some changes to that notes, and once they are done within a span of 3-4 days, you will also receive the summary notes. And November 21 students also chapter wise I will be providing summary notes. So May 21 students, what you have to do, whatever I am teaching you from this textbook, once the chapter gets completed, you have to refer it from these notes, and you also have to refer the same thing from the summary notes. Summary notes are 100 pages, these notes are 400 pages. So if you read these notes once, in the same time you can read the summary notes 4 times. An income tax subject, you have to study at least 3 or 4 times, otherwise you will understand everything, but you will not remember. Remembering is a challenge in this subject. Challenge is not to understand. It is the job of a teacher to make you understand. How the teacher makes you understand, it is his job. But once you have understood, it is a very big challenge to remember and recollect because it is too voluminous. So the only way to manage this heavy volume subject is refer the summary notes. So I have made a summary notes of around only 110 pages. You can refer it at least 3 or 4 times before the examination. And believe me, you will be comfortable. Once the chapter gets completed, you go on getting the notes and you will realize that you are more comfortable. It is taking less time. So this is the plan of action for you. May 21 students, I told you that I will be covering up 5 heads of income first. Then we will be moving on to deductions and AMT, etc. Number 21 students are not affected. Whatever is the flow, you will be comfortable enough with that. Shall we begin? Very good. So you might have received these notes. You might have seen also the index page. There are around 16 chapters, 395 pages. Out of 16 chapters, my target is to move on to the first chapter as of now. Out of 2 groups, this paper is paper 4, 4A in group 1, carrying only 60 marks. But while you prepare for the examination, don't think that you are preparing only for CA intermediate examination. Think about the subject, because this subject will be part of your syllabus in CA final for 100 marks. So prepare as if you are preparing for 160 marks. 60 marks at intermediate level and 100 marks at CA final level. There are a lot of chapters which are getting repeated. For example, the chapter of business profession, capital gain, etc. Same chapter would appear at CA final also. So your base right now should be developed in such a manner that whatever you have learned in CA intermediate should be helpful to you at CA final. In that manner you have to study. So today we'll be starting up with the first chapter, that is basic concepts. In that chapter, whatever you study, you may not be in a position to understand everything right now, because a lot of topics are connected to some other chapters. Income tax subject is like a cobweb. Lot of chapters are connected. For example, there is a topic called as scheme and insurance policy. It is part of chapter number 1, basic concept also. It is part of income from salaries chapter also. It is part of business profession chapter also. It is part of income from other sources chapter also. Such kind of topics which are connected to multiple chapters will be taking up at the end. For example, this scheme and insurance policy topic will be taking up in the last chapter, that is income from other sources. Because till that point of time, will be comfortable enough with the subject, your understanding level might have improved, all these things will happen. So basic concept, we move on to this chapter. Before that, you know that this subject is part of group 1, paper 4, which is divided in 2 parts. There are 2 subjects, direct tax and indirect tax. So I'll be taking up your direct tax, which is around 60 marks. And you know that in the examination you get the paper 30 marks, MCQs you get a separate paper, and descriptive you get a separate paper. Similarly, answer sheets are also 2. One answer sheet for that MCQs, and at the end of the examination you have to give the MCQ question as well as solution sheet both to the examiner. Are you aware that 30% marks are devoted to MCQs? Okay. Remaining 70% are devoted to descriptive questions, and in income tax you can, after the introduction of MCQs, we can say that around 80% of the marks, total marks are 60, out of that 30%, that is 18 marks are for MCQs. The remaining 42 marks are for descriptive questions. Out of 42 marks, you can say that around 38 marks would be practical questions. So it will be very less theory. Earlier, CA used to ask theory for 15 or 20% of the total paper. But now that the MCQs are introduced, they don't have the scope of asking the theory much. So besides MCQs, they would ask you theory for maybe maximum 4-5 marks. Besides that, everything will be question solving only. But definitely, if you understand the theory properly, then only you will be in a position to solve the questions. So as I told you, it is for 60 marks. Your indirect tax subject is over. It is not yet started. Okay. So let us start from the basic. You need to answer me a lot of questions. Don't refer to the notes. Whenever you have to refer to the notes, I'll tell you the page number, para number, line number, everything. Everything will be instructed to you. You have to just listen to me, look at me, even if you don't like my face. So, if I ask you a very simple question, what do you mean by tax? What is tax? Specifically for November 21 students, not for May 21. They have at least reached more than 50% level. What is tax? Which we pay to the government. And that government will utilize for different purposes. Government may utilize the tax money for defense of the country, for security of the country, for providing education to the public, for providing health facilities. What is the situation of health facilities? You might be experiencing since last around 1 year. India is spending around 1.4% I think of GDP on the health. There are countries in the world who are spending around 8% of their GDP on the health expenses. So we are nowhere near to them. We are even behind the most underdeveloped countries when it comes to spending on health. And in Chennai, I think the COVID cases are not increasing at a very rapid pace. But Mumbai is like In Hindi, there is one word. In circus, there is something called as, that person rides a bike in that circle type, that is called as Maut Ka Kuwa. So that is the situation in Mumbai as of now. The moment you move out of your house, when you come back, it may happen that you might have come back infected. That is the situation. Every day there are around 15,000 cases, every day. So even if we move out of the house, we are within the building, within the building premise also, people have developed an habit of wearing the masks. That is the situation. God forbid this should not happen in other cities. But Maharashtra, every day 50,000 cases. I have seen my distant relatives, in close friends also, they have got hospitalized and the bills are into lakhs of rupees. 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs at least. That is the average bill. Once they put a patient on ventilator, they would charge at least 25,000 a day. That is the average bill of a patient. No one should, even your enemy should not be affected by this disease. It is very dangerous. You can't think of it. In this city, you might not experience, because here the cases are very less. I do not know. The elections are over, but still they have not declared more cases. I do not know whether there are cases or not. Anyway, but I strongly believe that in every negative situation, there are a lot of positive things. So students who are appearing for CA examination, I think your colleges are not functioning right now. So you are having a lot of time to study. In this entire negative picture, the only positive thing is all these students who are appearing for the examination, for CA examination, they are having a lot of time to study, because colleges are not functioning, they need not attend the lectures, and online lectures, you know that how you attend. People log in and keep the mobile aside. That is what is happening everywhere. So I think this batch students would be having maximum time to study, and it is an opportunity for you to study well, appear for the examination, get good marks, score at least 60-70%. First of all, keep a target of scoring 60-70-80%, depending upon the liking of your liking with respect to a particular subject. Keep a target. If you don't keep the target, then the implied target is what? 50 marks. And in the CA Institute examination, if you keep a target of 50 marks, believe me, you are not going to get more than 50 marks. It is impossible. So you need to keep a bigger target. Anyway, so we were discussing about the taxation. So what is tax? Tax is nothing but the money which we pay to the government. And that money is utilized by the government for providing different facilities for different expenditure. Now there are different types of taxes. Or tell me, who is collecting the tax? Which government is collecting the tax? Both central as well as state government. There are certain taxes which are collected by the central government. There are certain taxes which are collected by the state government. And in certain situations, even the local authorities, municipal corporations are also collecting the taxes. When it comes to CA intermediate subject, we are talking about those taxes which are being collected by the central government, because the CA course which you are doing is same for everyone throughout the country. So no state tax law is covered here, only central tax law is covered. Earlier you might be aware that sales tax etc. was being levied by the state government. Now it is being taken over by the central government in the form of GST. So there are different taxes. Whatever, any subject which is being taught to you in this CA intermediate course is at a central level. It is not a state law, it is a central law, because this course is a same course for the entire country. So are you aware about any taxes which is being collected by the central government? Yes, GST. What else? Income tax. What else? Have you heard about any other taxes which are being collected by the central government? Custom duty. Yes, custom duty. What else? Don't think, just answer. Your answer may be correct or incorrect. Answering is important. Property tax. Property tax is collected by the municipal corporation. Property tax is a tax which is collected by the municipal corporation. So when it comes to the taxes of the central government is collecting income tax, You know that taxes are of two different types, direct tax and indirect tax. What is the difference between them? Direct tax we pay directly and indirect tax we pay indirectly. Yes, this is the most important point. In case of direct tax, the impact of tax and the incidence of tax, the person on whom the tax is levied and the person who is bearing the tax, they are one and the same person. In case of indirect tax, the person paying the tax and person finally bearing the tax, they are two different persons. So in case of direct tax, we say that impact and incidence of tax is on the same person, whereas in case of indirect tax, impact is on one person, whereas incidence is on another person. So let me tell you that when it comes to direct tax, India had four different types of direct taxes. The first one being income tax. Second one was wealth tax, which is scrapped just before 5 years. Third one was something called as estate duty tax. Have you heard about that? Estate duty tax. It is scrapped long back. It is scrapped. Estate duty tax means, say for example, if I die, then whatever my property is there, that property will be given to someone. My child might inherit that property. So whatever property my child is receiving on my death, on that property he has to pay some tax. So whatever property you receive by way of inheritance, on that you have to pay tax called as estate duty tax. This is scrapped long back. And the fourth direct tax was a gift tax. Gift tax was there up to 1998. Thereafter, it was scrapped. It was reintroduced in 2002. It was once again scrapped in 2005. And finally, the provisions or law relating to taxing the gift is introduced in the Income Tax Act itself. So there were four different types of direct taxes earlier: income tax, wealth tax, estate duty tax and gift tax. Out of four, now three are scrapped. Now we are having only one tax, which is the direct tax levied by the central government, that is income tax. Indirect tax, you have a lot of indirect tax. Some of them are being collected by the state government, some of the indirect taxes are being collected by the central government. For you, for today's homework, you can take it as homework that GST has replaced how many taxes. You can find out as a homework. GST has replaced how many taxes? Because of GST, lot of taxes are scrapped. For example, because of GST, VAT sales tax is scrapped, service tax is also scrapped. Yes or no? You might be aware about only two things, sales tax and service tax, but because of introduction of GST, there are a lot of other taxes also which were being collected by the state government, like luxury tax, etc. They are also scrapped. So as today's homework, you can find out that GST has replaced how many taxes? GST has replaced how many taxes? You can find out from somewhere, maybe you can Google it. This is the most easily accessible data. Anyway, so taxes are of how many types? Two different types, direct tax and indirect tax. In direct tax, we are having only one tax now, and that is income tax. Income tax was introduced long back in the year 1865. It was introduced in the year 1865 for the first time. Later on it was revised. It was reintroduced in the 1922. And then it was reintroduced once again in the year 1961. Old act was scrapped and the new was introduced. So as of now, whatever income tax you will be studying is the income tax law as enacted in the year 1961. Definitely thereafter, as the law gets amended over a period of time, this act has also got amended. But basically this act was lastly introduced in the year 1961. So direct tax, indirect tax you have understood. Besides, I told you that only one tax is there when it comes to direct tax, and that is income tax. When it comes to indirect tax, the taxes which are still being collected or still being there in the practical life are GST, which is part of your syllabus at CA intermediate level. CA final level, you also have GST as well as customs. Both are part of your syllabus. So we'll be starting up with this income tax subject today. But before that, CA foundation, you might have studied law, right? So can you tell me what is the law making procedure? Is there some procedure for making the law? Who makes the law? Very good. Yes. Bill will be passed where? In the parliament. So in a very 2-3 minutes short discussion we'll be having on this. First of all, whenever, say for example, you have ordered a mobile phone from Flipkart. You paid 10,000 rupees to them, and after 3 days a packet was delivered to you. When you opened that packet, instead of mobile phone, it was a Rin soap inside that box. Now what remedy is available with you? Call the customer care. Bash him like anything, but you will only get satisfaction that you bashed him. Nothing else is going to happen. What you can do so that Flipkart can accept that this they have done, and they will deliver you the phone instead of that. What remedy is available to you? Consumer court. In India, you know what is the situation of the courts? You might file the case when you are alive, and you may get the decision when you are dead. So your child might get the phone. That may be the situation. That is the situation of all the courts, not only consumer courts. Most difficult being the consumer court. So, say for example, Government of India has realized that people who are purchasing products online, for their safeguard, we need to make some law. So, first of all, before making the law, government will feel the need that yes, in this situation, there is a need of the law. So, what government will do? They will appoint the committee of experts who are knowledgeable and who know this field. Maybe they can appoint some businessmen, plus they can appoint some lawyers who can draft the law, plus they can appoint some experts from different areas. Besides that, government machinery like IAS officers will also coordinate with them, and the law will be made by the committee. Once the law is made by the committee, that law will be given to the Standing Committee of Parliament. The Standing Committee of Parliament will refer the law and will decide whether this law is fit to be taken to the Parliament or not. If they believe that yes, this law is drafted in a proper manner, it is fit to be taken to the Parliament, then this law will be presented in the Parliament. When the law is made, it is called as what? Bill. It is presented to the Parliament. Parliament means what? It constitutes of what? When we say Parliament, law will go where? To the Lok Sabha and then to the Rajya Sabha. If the law gets passed through both these houses, then it will be reached to President of India for his consent. Once he gives the assent, then the law will be implemented from the date which is given in the Act. Correct? This is the law making procedure when it comes to making law in this country. Similar is the law making procedure when it comes to the state laws. If any law is being required to be made in a state, which is required to be implemented in that particular state only, then the law will be made by the committee of experts. It will be submitted to the committee, and then it will be presented in the Vidhan Sabha, Vidhan Parishad, and then the law will be sent to the governor of the state. Governor will give his consent by putting a rubber stamp and putting the signature on the act, and then the law will be implemented from a particular date. This is the law making procedure you might be aware about. So income tax, any act is being made in this fashion only. So I don't want to get into that details. Here there is a topic, small topic, a general discussion on this. No one is going to ask you this in the examination, but since there are MCQs, they can ask you a lot of things. Can you tell me which is the biggest law of this country? Biggest law or parent law of this country? Yes, Indian Penal Code. Yes, Which is the parent law of this country? Parent law means above all law. Why do we celebrate 26th of January? Republic Day. What happened on that day? Constitution was presented to the country. So Constitution of India is a law. It is the parent law of this country. If government of India or the state government wants to make any law, they have to make the law within the boundaries of the Constitution of India. If they make some law which is outside the scope of the Constitution, means say for example Constitution doesn't allow you to make some certain kind of law, and if the central government or the state government makes a law which is contradicting the Constitution of India, then the court has the right to scrap that law. So the biggest law of this country is Constitution of India. Central government or any of the state government making the law has to make within the boundaries, within the rights given by the Constitution of India. So Constitution is the parent law of this country. If I ask you that the income tax law is made by whom? Central government. But it is made within the boundaries of the Constitution of India. Whatever Constitution is permitting, as per that law will be made. Is that very clear? Okay. There is something called as pillars of democracy and their functions. This will quickly brush up. This you might have studied in your school days in that subject of civics. Do you recollect that? You are having a very strong memory. Pillars of democracy means whenever you construct a building, that building will be on a pillar. That pillar has to be very strong. So similarly, the democratic structure of this country is built on this pillar. There are 5 pillars of democracy. First one is legislature. Have you heard about this word earlier? What is the job of legislature? What is the job of legislature? I need answers only in maximum one sentence. Maximum one sentence. What is the job of legislature? Forget about what is written in the book. Because these topics, no one is going to ask in the examination. You have to just know what is the meaning of it or what is the answer for that particular question in maximum one word. What is the job of legislature? Make the law. When we say that Parliament has made the law, we mean to say that Parliament is the legislature. Their job is to make the law. Make the law and pass the law through the Parliament. That is called as legislature. So the job of the legislature is to make the law. Once the law is made, law will be successful. A particular law will be successful only if it is implemented properly. Who will implement the law? Executive wing of the government, that is administration, will implement the law. Say for example, you are riding a bike and you don't stop at the signal. Then the traffic police is not part of legislature. They are part of what? Administrator. Their job is to implement the law, charge you penalty as per the law which is being made by the legislature. Is that very clear? Okay. So only in one word we will understand this. Job of the legislature is to make the law. Job of the administration is to implement the law. Job of the administration is to implement the law. See, against every paragraph you can select one word. Against the word, against legislature, what is the word? Make the law. Against the second point, executive government, their job is to implement the law. In that executive government, you can also write administration. Executive government is also called as what? Administration. So in this second point, you can also write administration. Executive government is also called as what? Administration. What is their job? To implement the law. Third point is judiciary. What do you mean by judiciary? Judiciary means courts. What is the job of court? To settle the disputes. To settle the disputes. Okay. When it comes to taxes, there will be a dispute between two parties. There will this dispute is always between two persons. When it comes to taxes, the dispute will be between whom? Government and the taxpayer. Yes. So there will be two parties to the dispute, the government and the taxpayer. So whose job is to settle this dispute? Job of the judiciary. When it comes to when we talk about judiciary, there are different hierarchy. There are different levels in the judiciary, which is called as hierarchy in the judiciary. Are you aware about this hierarchy? What is the lowest level when it comes to court? District court. Yes, district court. Above that, high courts, and above that, Supreme Court. Can the decisions given by the Supreme Court be overruled? No. Yes. Whether the decisions of the Supreme Court can be overruled? Yes. Can it be overruled? How it can be overruled? Or who can overrule? One thing is International Court of Justice can overrule the decisions of the Supreme Court. Excellent. Are you aware about some case going on with the government of India with respect to Vodafone? No. Income Tax Department had sent a notice to Vodafone long back, maybe in the year 2008, and the notice was for a payment of tax of around 4,000 crores. 4,000 crore notice was sent to Vodafone. Vodafone did not pay even 1 rupee. They fought the case. At a case reached till the level of Supreme Court, and the Vodafone won the case. So decision was given by the Supreme Court in favor of Vodafone. Means they are not supposed to pay any tax in that particular situation. I don't want to share the situation right now. You might not be in a position to understand. But the point is, Vodafone, the decision was given in the favor of Vodafone, so they need not pay any tax. But that decision was overruled. So the question is how it can be overruled and who can overrule. So very important point to be noted here is decisions of Supreme Court can also be overruled. Number one, it can be overruled, as he said, it can be overruled by the International Court of Justice. Number two, it can be overruled by the government. How government can overrule the decision of Supreme Court? By amending the law. Whatever law is there right now, as of now in the income tax, referring to that law, if some decision is given in the favor of taxpayer and the government feels that this is not the right conclusion given by the Supreme Court, then what can government do? Government can amend that particular law. Amending the law means changing the law. So when it comes to changing the law, once the law is changed, the new law will be implemented. This amendment can be of two different types, or maybe based on the nature of amendment, we can say that amendment can be of three different types. One is called as addition. Do you understand addition? For example, are you understanding now what I am trying to tell you? Okay. You might have studied law in CA Foundation as well, right? So amendment can be of three different categories when it comes to classification of amendments based on the nature of amendment. The first one being addition. Addition means, say for example, there is section 10, there is section 11. Now government wants to write something between section 10 and 11, then they can come out with section 10A. That A is not subsection. It is section itself, section 10A. So between section 10 and 11, if government is inserting one more section, that is called as what? Addition. The second type of amendment based on the nature of amendment is what? Deletion. Deletion means government has removed a particular section. That section is omitted. Once the section is omitted, the serial number of the section below that will not change. For example, there is section 10, 11, 12, 13. If I omit section 11, that doesn't mean that section 12 will come at a place of section 11. Section 12 will stay there only. In place of section 11, what will be written? This section is omitted with effect from so and so year. So the section numbers are not going to change. So based on the nature of amendment, we can classify the amendment into three categories. First one being addition, second one is deletion, and the third one is called as substitution. Substitution means there are certain words in a particular paragraph. You want to remove those 5 words, and instead of that we need to replace those 5 words by some other 10 words. That is called as substitution. So amendment means changing the law. Who can change the law? Definitely, once again, the legislature can change the law. This amendment, based on the nature of amendment, can be classified into three categories: addition, deletion, and substitution. Same amendment based on some other factor. What is that factor? That factor is date of implementation of law. Based on the factor date of implementation of law, amendment can be classified into two categories. One is called as prospective amendment. Prospective amendment means it will be made applicable from the date on which it is made. And the other one is called as retrospective amendment. You might have studied a chapter of depreciation in accounts. In that you might have studied about change in the method of depreciation. Earlier the person, a businessman, was following, say for example, straight line method. Now he has changed from straight line method to reducing balance method. My question to you is that change in method of depreciation is always prospective or retrospective? What do you mean by retrospective? Right from day one, right from starting. So change in method of depreciation is retrospective or prospective? It is retrospective. That is the reason you compare the depreciation as per the old method and the depreciation as per the new method, and you find out the difference, and for the differential amount you pass the entry. Do you recollect that? So changing the law prospectively means from right now the law is changed. Meaning whereby whatever decisions are given before today, say for example, this is the month of April 2021, government has come out with some law, they have amended some law which is being made applicable with effect from April 21. Then whatever decisions are being given by the Supreme Court in the month of March 21, those decisions are not going to get revised. Those decisions were given based on the old law, and those decisions will prevail. Are you understanding this? But if the amendment which is being introduced by the government is retrospective in nature, for example, there is an amendment which is introduced as of now in the year 2021, but the paragraph says that it is applicable with retrospective effect from 1st April 2015. In that case, whatever decisions are given by the Supreme Court during 2015 to 21, all those decisions will be changed based on this new law. So if I ask you once again the same question, can the decisions of Supreme Court be overruled? Yes. By what? By changing the law. But that law should be changed in what manner? Retrospectively. Have you understood this very clearly? So number one, decisions of Supreme Court can be overruled by, as he said, International Court of Justice. Number two, decisions of the Supreme Court can be overruled by amending the law in a retrospective manner. Is that very clear? And the last one, say for example, in the Supreme Court, there was a case going on. So there might be a panel of judges hearing that case. That panel of judges, there are 3 judges. So we call that as bench. The group of judges is called as bench. If the decision is given by a 3-bench judge, 3-judge bench, then that decision can be overruled by a larger bench. Larger bench will have a more number of judges as compared to the previous bench. For example, a decision is given by the bench of 3 judges. If you file a review petition, review means you are requesting the Supreme Court to reconsider this case, once again refer it, and you are saying that kindly refer it once again carefully and if you feel, you can revise the decision. If you ask the Supreme Court to review its own decision, then the Chief Justice of India may transfer your case to a larger bench. Now, for example, your case is being transferred to a bench having 5 judges, and that bench has given a decision which is exactly opposite to the decision given by the bench of 3 judges. In that case, we can say that the old decision of Supreme Court is being overruled. By whom? By Supreme Court only, but by larger bench of the judges. Have you understood this? So decision of the Supreme Court can be overruled by three different in 3 manner. Number 1, by the International Court of Justice. Number 2, by amending the law, and number 3, by the larger bench of the Supreme Court judges. Is that very clear? That the third part is called as review of the decision. The decision of the Supreme Court is being reviewed by the larger bench of the Supreme Court. Is that very clear? Okay. Now, when it comes to judiciary, judiciary in context of income tax, say for example, you have filed your income tax declaring an income of 10 lakh rupees. Do you know you have to file your income tax returns? When we say you have to file the income tax return, means you have to declare an income. How much income you have earned, that you have to declare to the income tax department. Now, say for example, you have declared an income of 10 lakh rupees and you have filed your income tax return. What the income tax department will do? They may pick up the calculator, they may pick up your income tax return, they may refer to the calculation, whatever calculation you might have done for ascertaining your income. And they concluded that your income is not 10 lakhs, it is 13 lakhs. What is the consequence in that case? They will ask extra tax from you along with heavy penalties. Penalty is in the range of 50% to 200% of tax. Right now it is fixed. Earlier it was from the range of 100% to 300%. Now it is fixed. It will be either 50% of tax or 200% of tax. Intentionally, if you have evaded the tax, then the penalty would be 200% of tax. So say for example, you have evaded tax on an income of 3 lakhs. You have hidden your income of 3 lakhs. On that 3 lakh, for example, the tax is 30%, that is 90,000 rupees. Then you have to pay tax, that is 90,000 rupees plus 200% of 90,000. That is 1,80,000. So out of 3 lakhs, they have already taken up how much? 2,70,000. Plus you have to pay interest also. So you will be left with zero, nearly zero. So for example, you declared an income of say 10 lakh rupees and department has assessed your income as 13 lakh rupees and now they are demanding tax from you. Then the easiest way for you is not to pay the tax and file a case against them and go to judiciary. So my question is, what will be the first level of judiciary? You will go where? Tribunal. Have you heard something called as tribunal? Yes. First level of judiciary when it comes to income tax, the first level of judiciary is called as CIT appeals. First level of judiciary is called as what? CIT appeals, Commissioner of Income Tax appeals. Means that officer will only hear the appeal. He will not look after the day-to-day income tax department work. He will look after only the appeal part of it. So whenever there is a dispute between the taxpayer and the tax department, the first level of judiciary is what? CIT appeals. In CIT appeals, only income tax cases will be heard. Other cases will not be heard. It is exclusively for income tax matters. So I am telling you what is the level of judiciary when it comes to income tax. First level is what? CIT appeals. See, all these things are part of CA final chapter called as income tax authorities. But you should know it, because whenever some decision we will refer, you should know that this decision is given by the which level in the hierarchy. The first level in the hierarchy of income tax is what? CIT appeals. If you lose a case at CIT appeals, then you can move on to second level. What is that? Second level is called as tribunal, as he said. Also called as income tax appellate tribunal. So first level is what? CIT appeals. Second level is income tax appellate tribunal. Third level is High Court. See, the first level, CIT appeals and income tax appellate tribunal, at these two stages, only income tax related matters will be heard. No other matters, only income tax exclusive matters. When it comes to level 3, that is High Court, when your case reaches the High Court, there not only income tax, all other matters will also be heard. So third level will be beyond the ITAT, third level will be what? High Court. If you lose a case at High Court, then what? Then definitely the last level, that is Supreme Court. What if you lose a case even at Supreme Court level? So every case will move on to International Court of Justice? No. Only those cases in which one of the parties is outsider. He is outsider means not belonging to India, belonging to some other country. Only in that case, cases can move on to International Court of Justice. And cases don't move on to International Court of Justice very frequently. Maybe you can say 1 in 2 or 3,000 cases will move. I have not seen cases moving to International Court of Justice very frequently. Maybe once in 5 to 10 years, case will move on to International Court of Justice. One instance I told you, Vodafone case moved on to International Court of Justice. So, for example, if you lost a case at Supreme Court level, do you have some other remedy? You can just ask for review, that's all. Supreme Court decision is a final decision. Once the Supreme Court has given a decision which is against you, the only option available is go home, sign a check of the amount of tax, penalty, interest, etc. and pay to the government. Don't do that crime for the next time. So, decision of the Supreme Court is a final decision. As I said you earlier, decision of Supreme Court can also be overruled. Yes. Generally, no. Because International Court is a forum wherein disputes of two countries will be heard. No? The parties to the dispute should belong to two different countries. Say for example, there is a fight between you and your brother. Who can hear the case? Your father can hear the case, but his father cannot hear. Are you understanding? So it is within the family. So the highest forum is first of all the case will reach to your mother. Then the second level is father, and he is the final authority. You can't go to the secretary of your building, housing society, that my brother has beaten up me, because he is not the correct authority. So when it comes to International Court of Justice, the two parties to the case should be belonging to two different countries. If they are belonging to the same country, then definitely the highest level of forum is Supreme Court. Is that very clear? Okay. So judiciary, I told you there are 4 levels. See, these things you can write in the textbook itself in the side. No one is going to ask you, but you should have the knowledge of this. So third point we have discussed, what is that? Judiciary. 4 levels I told you: CIT appeals, ITAT, High Court and Supreme Court. Okay. Next is press. Yes. Press means, what is the job of press? Press means media. What is the job of press? Echo the public voice. Say for example, you want to tell something to the government. You are sitting here inside the classroom. Say for example, you want to convey your message to the state government. You can't convey your message to the state government because there is no such mechanism. So what you can do, the easiest way for you is to go to the media, talk to them. They will show that grievance on the news channel. It will be then seen by the government officials, and accordingly they will take the decision. Job of the press is to echo your voice and ensure that your voice reaches to the government, your grievance reaches to the government. This is the actual job. This is the actual job, but you might be aware that this is not being done by the media. They tell something which is not required to be told. And whatever is required to be told to the government or to the public, they will never tell. So unfortunately, media in India is politically motivated. A lot of channels are owned by the politicians only. So they will show whatever they want to show. But this is what is written in book. Job of press is to echo the public voice so that it reaches to the government. Last one is called as Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Have you heard about this? What is the job of Comptroller and Auditor General? Audit the, yes. Audit the books of accounts of government companies. What else? Appoint the auditors, definitely. What else? Job of Comptroller and Auditor General of India is also to audit the decisions of the government. Means, for example, government has taken a particular decision. See, person sitting at the highest forum also, he might be corrupt person. See, I can't say that the Prime Minister of the country might not be corrupt. You can't conclude that. Do you remember the 2G spectrum scam? One fine day, morning when we picked up the newspaper, I read that 2G spectrum scam is worth 1,76,000 crores. 1,76,000 crores. One fine day morning, these headlines came in the newspaper saying that 2G spectrum case, in 2G spectrum, government has lost a revenue to the tune of 1,76,000 crores. We Indians could not believe this number because behind that 1,76,000, it was written as crores. But the point is, who had given this number? Who had decided that the loss to the exchequer, that is the government, was 1,76,000 crores? That was decided on an estimated basis by Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, his job is to do the audit of books of accounts of government companies. His job also is to do the audit of decisions of the government, whether the government has taken a right decision in that particular situation or not. And to whom that Comptroller and Auditor General will report? He'll report to President, but he'll present all his audit reports to Parliament. Audit reports will be presented to the joint committee of the Parliament. So this is the fifth estate, this is the fifth pillar of democracy. See, this you can remember in one word only, no one is going to ask you. Let us move forward. Next is meaning and classification of tax. This we have already discussed. Tax is nothing but the amount which we pay to the government in different names, maybe income tax or maybe GST or any other tax. These taxes can be divided into how many categories? Two, direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax, impact of tax and incidence of tax is on the same person. Indirect tax, impact of tax and incidence of tax is on two different persons. Examples of direct tax, one is income tax, the other one is securities transaction tax. Are you aware about this securities transaction tax? Yes. When you pay securities transaction tax? When you deal in shares through a stock exchange. See, if I am having the shares of Reliance, I want to sell the shares of Reliance and you want to purchase the shares of Reliance. I can transfer the shares from my Demat account to your Demat account, and in that case, we both need not pay any securities transaction tax. We will save the tax. But if you want to do a transaction through the stock exchange, they will charge securities transaction tax. Stock exchange, they will collect the securities transaction tax and they will pay to the central government. Securities transaction tax is not collected by the state government, it is collected by the central government. In indirect tax, we have GST, we have custom duty. As I told you earlier, which is the biggest law of this country? Constitution of India is the biggest law. So any other law which is required to be made should be made within the boundaries of the Constitution. Any law which is made outside the boundaries of the Constitution or which is made beyond what is written within the Constitution, that law can be squashed by the court. It can be cancelled by the court, or we can say in simple language, it can be omitted by the courts. So biggest law of this country is Constitution of India. In any act, there are different paragraphs. Those paragraphs are called as section numbers. Yes or no? In Constitution of India, those paragraphs are not called as section numbers, they are called as article numbers. They are called as what? Article numbers. So in Constitution, we don't have sections, we have articles. Every para is called as a article. So Constitution of India is a law, that is also a law enacted by the government, and it is the biggest law of this country. In Constitution of India, we have articles. Article number 265 says that tax can be levied only if there is an authority. Tax cannot be levied without an authority. Who will give the authority? Constitution will give the authority to make the law, and then the law will be giving you the authority to levy the tax. Constitution will give the authority for what? For making the law, and law will give the authority to collect the tax or levy the tax. Is that very clear? So article number 265 of the Constitution says that taxes cannot be collected without the authority of law. You should have an authority to collect the tax. I can't say that any person moving through vehicles in front of my building has to pay me 20 rupees. I can't start collecting toll tax like, because I don't have the authority. You should have the authority to collect the tax, or you should have the authority to levy the tax. So article 265 prohibits levy of tax without the authority. We have one more article, that is article 246 of the Constitution. In article 246 we have 7th schedule. Schedule means any information which is given in a tabular form. Any information which are given in a table form will be called as what? Schedule. Schedule is something attached to the law. So article number 246 of the Constitution through schedule number 7 is giving you 3 lists. The law making authority is bifurcated into 3 lists. The first list is called as what? Union list. Union list is comprising of those subjects on which law can be made only by the central government. Where this is written? In schedule number 7. Schedule number 7 is attached to what? Article 246 of the Constitution. So article 246 gives you schedule 7. Schedule 7 gives you some information in a tabular form. In that table is divided in 3 parts. It is also called as 3 list. First one is union list. Union list consists of those topics or those subject matter on which law can be made by the central government. Is that very clear? Okay. Second is what? State list. State list will include the subjects on which the law can be made by the only state government. Only state government. And the third one is called as concurrent list. Any subject which is forming part of concurrent list, on that law will be made by the central government in coordination with the state governments. So both central government as well as state government will have their own say in making the law. Is that very clear? Okay. So we have discussed this. Constitution of India, Article 265, Article 246, Schedule number 7, Union list, State list and concurrent list. Now if I ask you a very simple question, income tax is part of which list? It should be part of which list? Income tax is collected by whom? Levied by whom? Central government. So it should be part of which list? Definitely union list. Yes or no? GST is levied by central government, definitely. So that should also be part of union list. Is that very clear? So in union list, yes, we understood. See, in GST, when the subject starts, you will realize that in GST there is not only one act, there are more than one act. One act is called as GST Compensation Act, wherein the amount, how much amount will be given to the states, all those things are written. Those would form part of our concurrent list. GST main law will form part of union list. So what will form part of union list? What will be forming part of state list and concurrent list, that we have discussed. Yes? One tax can fall under both the list. Answer is no. GST will fall under union list, but in GST we have, as I told you, there are 3 different acts in GST. So one act will fall, the act which is levying the tax will fall in union list. The act which is asking you, giving you the apportionment of taxes between the state and the central will fall into concurrent list. Is that clear? See, this kind of 3-tier system in GST is being introduced for the first time. Earlier, before that, there was nothing called as 3 different acts were not made for the single tax. For one tax, only one act was made. So that GST portion, I don't want to get into that. I am not a knowledgeable person when it comes to GST. Long back, I have cleared my CA. In my time, we did not have GST, we had service tax. Anyway, but GST, Tharun sir will only be the right person to answer you. I can't. I don't want to give the wrong answer unnecessarily. Anyway, let us come back to that income tax. Income tax is forming part of which list? List 1, union list. So in union list, we will be having lot of subjects. Lot of subjects will be having. Every subject will be having a serial number. The way I write something in the notebook, I write the point numbers. Na? Similarly, in the union list, there are a lot of subjects. Every subject will be serially numbered. So income tax falls into line number 82. Every line in that list is called as entry number. Every line is called as what? Entry number. So income tax is forming part of which entry? Entry number 8 to 82. So entry number 82 in the union list, which is forming part of 7th schedule, which is forming part of Article 246, gives the authority to whom? To the central government for making law for charging tax on what? Any income other than agricultural income. Other than agriculture income. I repeat, at entry number 82 gives right to the central government for making law for charging tax on which income? Any income other than agriculture income. Right to levy tax on agriculture income is given to the state government. But no state government has shown the guts to make any law for charging tax on agriculture income. If some state government shows the guts to make a law for charging tax on agriculture income, that government will fall within a span of 15 days. So no government has dared in the last 70-75 years. They can. I strongly believe they should. But no party is having the guts to do it. But for that, they have to change the constitution. For that, they have to change the constitution, and for changing the constitution, 3/4 majority is required. In last 30 years, no government had that much amount of majority. Even this government doesn't have the majority in Rajya Sabha. So it is very difficult to change the constitution. You need to take into confidence the opposition parties also. And nowadays, you know that they behave like they are enemies of each other. So it is very difficult. Any constitutional amendment is very difficult to make unless and until both the government and the opposition are on the same page. But looking at the protest of farmers, I strongly believe that, see, for example, once you complete your CA and you join some job, and maybe for example, you are earning 10 lakh rupees per annum. On an amount of 10 lakh of income, you are supposed to pay a tax of 1,12,500 plus cess. Effectively, you will be paying a tax of 1,17,000. But a farmer earning the same amount of income will have to pay zero tax. So I strongly believe that this is a very heavy injustice made to the people. Why the farmer earning income of 10 lakh doesn't pay the tax and the other people earning the same amount of income are paying the tax? No, that is what you feel. Nowadays agriculture also, it is not that security in agriculture has increased. I don't want to get into those things. But see, for example, farmer instead of earning an income has incurred a loss in this year. In that particular year, you don't ask tax from him. and you ask him to set off that loss against his future income, the way you are doing for other income, same thing can be done. See, I'm not talking about small farmers. You might have, I do not know whether you are aware or not, farmers from Punjab, their average income might be more than 20-25 lakhs. There are a lot of farmers who are having multiple luxury cars, more than one luxury car. You can't think of buying those cars throughout your life. They are buying cars worth 50 lakhs. I have seen farmers having 3-4 luxury cars and not paying even 1 rupee as tax. Such kind of farmers should be at least targeted. Such kind of farmers should be targeted. We are not talking about those small farmers having a small piece of land, having a meager income of say 2-4 lakhs. Those persons should not be targeted. But the person who is earning a heavy amount of income and is capable of paying the taxes, unnecessarily not paying the taxes and spending that money for his own luxury is not, it is a huge injustice to those who are paying the taxes. So it is a high time the central government and state government, they come together, they change the constitution and somehow they levy tax on the agriculture income also. That is what I feel. As of now, this amendment is due. In fact, it is overdue. Definitely small farmers should not be targeted. Maybe farmer earning an income of more than 10 lakhs per annum should be targeted. Only 5% of the total farmer in the countries might be having income of more than 10 lakhs per annum. Not even 5%. Not even 5%. But at least those earning into lakhs and crores, you might not be aware. At this podium, I should not say this, but all the politicians, they have made huge amount of money through corruption. They declare those income as agriculture income and their income tax return, and they don't pay even 1 rupee as tax. This is the fallback of not taxing agriculture income. You name the politician and he'll be having agriculture income. He'll be having a small parcel of land, small plot of land, earning crores of rupees out of agriculture in a very small plot of land. How he has done, God knows. So this is happening in this country since more than 60 years. So it is high time that agriculture income is also taxed. But God knows when the government will wake up. I don't think this is going to happen because a lot of politicians are also agriculturists. I don't know to name someone right now. Anyway. So this we have done, second topic. Third one is income tax law. See, you might have studied a lot of different law in CA Foundation. You might have studied Indian Partnership Act 1932. Yes or no? Along with the Partnership Act, you might have also studied partnership rules. Whenever the act is made, rules are also made. Whenever the act is made, rules are also made. So whenever you study any law, you need to study the act as well as the rules. Act is always made by the legislature, but the rules are made by the administration. Rules are not made by the legislature, rules are made by the administration. Now when it comes to administration of taxes, do you know who administrates the direct taxes in this country? CBDT. CBDT is the central body which is administering the direct taxes. So you can write here CBDT. CBDT will administer the direct taxes. And who will monitor the CBDT? CBDT would fall under which department or which ministry of the government? Definitely the finance ministry, which will be headed by the finance minister. So direct taxes will be administered by Central Board of Direct Taxes called as CBDT. Indirect taxes are administered by CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. Earlier it was called as CBEC. Now it is called as CBIC. So these are called as what? Administrative functions. So CBDT and CBIC will administrate the direct tax and indirect tax. If you want, you can write here also in the executive part, CBDT and CBIC. Now let's move on to this very quickly. We'll cover up this income tax law. When we talk about the law, I already told you that besides the act, there is something called as rules. Income tax law consists of 5 things. Income tax law would consider how many things? 5 things. Number 1 is Income Tax Act. This Income Tax Act was passed in the 1961. Income Tax Act is made by whom? Income Tax Act is made by whom? It is made by legislature. So Income Tax Act is act made by the legislature. It is passed through the parliament in the year 1961 and it is implemented with effect from 1st April 1962. I don't want to get into the details right now. I want to just tell you that income tax law is consisting of 5 things. Number 1 is what? Income Tax Act 1961. Number 2 is Income Tax Rules 1962. Actually, this is serial number 3 here. But along with Act, we always have the rules. So, Income Tax Act passed in the 1961. Income Tax Rules made in the 1962. Act is made by whom? Legislature. Act is made by legislature. Income tax rules are made by whom? Administration. When it comes to income tax means what? CBDT. So CBDT is empowered to make the income tax rules. When it comes to the syllabus of CA Intermediate, our focus will be on Income Tax Act, very less on income tax rules. We will be learning only maximum 5-6 different rules. So first one is Income Tax Act 1961, second one is called as Income Tax Rules 1962. Act is made by the legislature, rules are made by the administration. Third one is called as circular and notification. What do you mean by notification? Notification means what? Announcement. Very good, superb. Notification means to notify something. Notify something means to announce something, inform something, intimate something. Now, if government say, for example, you know that we need to file the income tax return. For filing the income tax return, there might be some due date, right? For every year you have to file the income tax return. There might be some date by which you are supposed to file the income tax return. Now, say for example, because of this corona, government feels that people would like to have some more time to file the income tax return. So, government wants to extend the date. How they will extend the date? How they will inform you that we have extended the date? By issuing a notification. Say for example, tomorrow also you will be having the lecture 7 to 1:30 same time. But if we want to inform you that what is which lectures of which subject will be conducted tomorrow, what we can do? We can display the timetable on the notice board. That is nothing but a notification. So the job of notification is to notify something, inform something, intimate something to the taxpayer as well as to the income tax department. So one point is notification. Other point is circular. Circular means what? To circulate something. Why there is a need of circular? The job of circular is to clarify something. Say for example, I am a taxpayer. There is a dispute with respect to particular section. I am taking some different meaning and the income tax department is taking some different meaning. According to my interpretation, if I take my interpretation, my tax liability works out to say 1 lakh rupees. And as per the interpretation which is taken by the income tax department, they have calculated the tax liability to be 1,20,000 rupees in some calculation. So which one is correct? 120 or 1 lakh, which one is correct? Whose calculation is correct? Or how to calculate a particular income? How to calculate a particular thing? If there is a confusion, when there will be confusion? When there are more than one interpretation. When there is an ambiguity in the law, ambiguity in the language used in the law, there will be more than one meaning. Whenever there is a more than one meaning, there is a confusion as to which meaning has to be taken up. In that case, circular will be issued. Circular will be issued by CBDT. Circular will be issued by CBDT to clarify the law. The law which is already made, in that law, if there is some clarification needed with respect to the interpretation of law, that will be given in the form of circular. Circular will be issued by whom? It will be issued by CBDT. Notification can be issued by central government. It can also be issued by CBDT in some cases. So notification can be issued either by the CBDT or by the central government. In certain situations, central government may issue the notification. In certain situations, CBDT may issue the notification. But the circular will be issued only by the CBDT. Have you understood the clear distinction between the circular and notification? Job of notification is to intimate something, inform something. Job of circular is to clarify something with respect to the interpretation of law. Is that very clear? Point number 4 is case law. What do you mean by case law? Case law is the outcome of, it is the outcome of judiciary. We discussed different pillars of democracy, right? First one was legislature, second one was executive, third one was judiciary. So if I ask you, this Income Tax Act is made by whom? It is made by the legislature. That is the first pillar of democracy. Income tax rules are made by executive. When it comes to income tax, executive wing is managed by CBDT. Circulars, notification, they are also issued by CBDT. So CBDT is a part of administration, second pillar of democracy. Case law is outcome of what? Outcome of judiciary. So case law is the outcome of judiciary. We discussed different levels of judiciary. Decision given by the High Court, decision which is given by the High Court, will be binding on the entire state. Will be binding on the entire state. Decision given by the Madras High Court. See, the name of the city has changed, but the High Court has remained the same. Madras High Court they call it as. So, decision of the Madras High Court will be applicable to the entire state of Tamil Nadu. Similarly, the decision of Bombay High Court will be applicable to the entire state of Maharashtra. And the decision of Supreme Court will be applicable to the entire country. It is called as law of the land. So, it is as good as law. Decision of the Supreme Court is as good as act only. It is as good as law, unless and until it is overruled by making the amendment to the law. Is that very clear? So there are 5 things when it comes to income tax law. Income tax law consists of 5 things. Number 1 is what? Income Tax Act of 1961 made by the legislature. Number 2 is Income Tax Rules 1962. Number 3 is circulars and notification. This is issued by CBDT and central government. Number 4 is case laws, which is the outcome of judiciary. Decisions given by the High Court are binding on entire state, whereas decisions given by the Supreme Court are binding on entire country. Decisions of Supreme Court are as good as the law of the land, as if it is the act only, unless and until it is amended. Is that very clear? Let's move on to the last part. This last part is called as Annual Finance Act. This is called as what? Annual Finance Act. See, the way in every household, they will prepare a budget. For example, in your house, your father is earning an income. So, he will decide out of this much amount of income where I need to spend how much amount. So, every household will be having a budget. First of all, they will look at the income. This is the amount of income earned and how to spend this income. Where it will, so education cost, this cost, that cost, etc. But similarly, the way a budget is prepared by every household, similarly, budget will be prepared by the government also. But the mechanism of making the budget is totally opposite. There is something called as public expenditure chapter, etc. Was it part of your economics in CA Foundation? Yes. So you might be aware that the budget of the country is not made, they don't decide the income first and then they decide the expenses. This is the manner in which the household budgets will be made, because their incomes are limited. But the budget of the government will be made in a totally reverse order. First of all, they will decide what expenditure we need to incur. Then they will take the total of the expenditure, and to incur that much amount of expenditure, they will collect the taxes. Are you understanding this? If government is deciding the expenditure first, and based on the total expenditure, if they start collecting the taxes, then the question arises, why there is a deficit then? Do you understand deficit? Deficit means government's income is less as compared to the expenditure. The point is, if they decide the expenditure first, they take the total of the expenditure. Based on that, if they start collecting the taxes, then there should not be a deficit. Why there is a deficit? Because taxes cannot be collected beyond a particular point. I can't increase the tax rate to 90%. If that happens, then there will be a huge evasion of tax. So the taxes can be collected at a particular level only. So, for example, government has levied a tax of 30% on companies. If they increase the tax rate of companies from 30% to 50%, what will happen? This industrialist will take away their money to some other country. So, increasing the tax rate is having its own disadvantages also. So, government cannot increase the tax rate beyond a particular point, beyond a particular limit. Therefore, there is a deficit. But when it comes to the budget of the government, they will always decide the expenditure first, and then they will collect the taxes based on the expenditure which is required to be incurred. When the government makes the budget, or when the government declares the budget, in the month of February, first day or last day? First day. Okay. So according to which might be the last budget? Budget 2020 or budget 2021? Definitely budget 2021, which might have been declared in February 2021. But that budget which was proposed, that budget which was presented on 1st February, that would contain only the proposals. That would contain only the proposals. Those proposals are required to be passed by the parliament. So in this monsoon session of the parliament, that budget which was proposed in the month of February would be passed, and then only it will be implemented. Which budget is applicable to your examination is not budget 21, it is budget 2020. Have you understood this? So budget 21, it is just proposed, it is not yet passed by the parliament, it will be passed in the monsoon session. So which budget is applicable to your examination is budget 2020. Now my question to you is, budget is made by the government for how many years? 1 year, 2 year, 5 year? 1 year. Which year? Calendar year or financial year? Financial year means April to March. So if I ask you a very simple question, budget 2020, budget 2020 means it is applicable to which financial year? Is it applicable to the financial year 1920 or it is applicable to the financial year 2021? Definitely 2021. Because if I give the budget in the month of February 2020 and if I say that it is applicable to the financial year 1920, financial year 1920 has already ended. Budget means deciding something in advance. So when it comes to budget 2020, it is applicable to which financial year? Financial year 2021. Financial year 2021. Financial year 2021 would give you the budget. That budget would give you information. The budget document we can divide in two parts, or the information in the budget document can be divided in two parts. Number one, information relating to taxes, and number two, information relating to other subjects. For example, you know that in government schools they are providing midday meals. Now say for example in midday meals, Government of India has decided that from this year onwards in midday meal will also provide 200 ml of milk to the child. In midday meal, as of now, milk is not given. Now, say for example, government is decided that 200 ml of milk will be provided to the child along with the midday meal, and it will be provided twice in a span of that 5 hours in the school. So, this decision will definitely have a financial impact, but this is not a decision in relation to taxes. So, it will form part of which it will form part of non-tax information. So, budget document would consist two type of, it will be divided in two parts, something related to tax and something related to other topics. Is that very clear? So, anything which is related to taxation in the budget document will be forming part of something called as Annual Finance Act. Will be forming part of what? Annual Finance Act. So, my budget document is divided in how many parts? Two parts. Something related to taxation, something related to other than taxation. Something related to taxation would be forming part of a document called as Annual Finance Act. Is that very clear? Now, few minutes back we spoke about amendment. Amendment means what? Changing the law. So, how the government will change the law? Government will change the law through the Annual Finance Act. For example, you purchase a laptop. In that laptop, when you purchase a laptop, there might be some inbuilt software. There might be some inbuilt software. Once you start using the laptop, maybe after 5-6 months, you are getting a pop-up in particular software. A pop-up is appearing and it is asking you to update the software. When you update the software, what is going to happen? The old software will be removed from your system and the new will be installed, or old will stay intact? Old will stay there only, and some changes or few changes or few plugins will be added to the existing software. Similarly, when it comes to income tax or when it comes to any other tax act, the amendment which is introduced will be introduced through the Finance Act, and the job of the Finance Act is not to replace the act. Job of the Finance Act is to add something to the existing act. Is that very clear? So, whatever amendment we need to make in the taxation law are always made through the Finance Act. Finance Act is part of budget, which is being proposed and passed by the central government, by the parliament, that is legislature. Is that very clear? So, job of the Annual Finance Act is what? Job of the Annual Finance Act is to update the existing Income Tax Act. Annual Finance Act will also give you the tax rates. It will also give you the tax rates. There are certain tax rates which are given in the Income Tax Act, and there are certain tax rates which are given in the Annual Finance Act. Which are the tax rates which are given in the Annual Finance Act, which are the tax rates which are given in the Income Tax Act, that we'll understand when we proceed with respect to the tax rates. But have you understood this much? Your all lectures are being conducted for a span of 6.5 hours. So, generally it is 7 to 1:30, all lectures for all the subjects. So, on that day, if you are having a session from say 7 to 10, so on that day you are having only one lecture, only for one subject. So, it is every day a single subject only. Lot of subjects are already over, I thought. Group 2 is over. Group 2 is over. Okay. So, since this is the first day, what we'll do is we'll decide, we'll take up the break twice in a span of 6 and whatever 6 hours we need to take. In that we'll have a small break and a bigger break. Lunch break. Do you have the lunch here only? Breakfast break. Half an hour. Half an hour breakfast break. We can have 2 breaks. See, today it is the first lecture. So, we are having a lot of theory. First chapter, starting portion around 60-70% of the part is theory. Thereafter, once we start the practical questions, you need to solve, you need to use the calculator, so you will be more active. I can see as of now the body language of yours. So, I think it is the right time to have a break right now. Generally, the breakfast break you take at what time? 9 o'clock. Okay, okay. 9 to 9:30. Okay, we can start at 9:30.